Buddy, welcome. We got a little jiggle. This is Sergeant Beast Larson. Just call me Steve. Painting for PTSD. Painting for PTSD. Let me get this out of the way here a little bit. And tonight, I'm not actually painting, coloring. Coloring this village picture from the Village Charm instead of painting. Kind of the same, but it's the adult coloring series, very detailed. Needing to relax, needing an outlet, needing something. Isn't that right?
Yep.
It's kind of been a long couple weeks for us physically. A lot of pain. My wife, Mrs. Beast, is here with me. She's coloring, and just going through a lot. She's got complex regional pain, which is a very, very bad nerve disease. About 14 years now?
15.
15. She's working on the aerial page in a different book. But we're talking about the closet. Hidden in the closet. Monsters in the closet. What's going on in the closet? Thank you everybody for joining in here on YouTube and TikTok as well. But I've been explained by two different people that people that suffer from PTSD, from being a victim, from car wrecks, from anything that's causing them trauma, they tend to compartmentalize, is a word I'm going to use, compartmentalize. And what that means is it's like filing cabinet in your brain, and you put stuff there, and as you put it there, you don't go back and open a drawer. So I didn't want to say, you can't say monsters in a filing cabinet, you say monsters in a closet. We kind of all know what that means. But you go to the door. Is your closet of PTSD, of stress, of trauma, is it like a Monica when you open the door and everything falls out on you on Friends? Do we feel like that sometimes? Occasionally we feel like it's full, it's overwhelming. When it gets to that point that the closet's spilling over, the anxiety is through the roof. That kind of goes together. So how do we deal with that? We need to go to the door. We need to put our hand on the handle. We need to open it. Anybody that's got some friends and family dealing with PTSD, share this link to them really quick. We're going to be on for a little bit. We're going to talk. Share it to them. Just give them a chance to listen. Painting for PTSD. Now, I'm a military background. I'm retired police. I've worked in a prison. I've been on SWAT and special teams. Almost 30 years of violence and bad and chaos. And it got to the point that I finally listened to my wife that I do have some issues, things cause PTSD. Like, for instance, yesterday, we're watching Blue Bloods, one of our favorite shows. And it's another police funeral there for the NYPD, and the bagpipes come on, and just tears come down. And I look at her and tell her, I can't listen to bagpipes anymore. And she's been to funerals with me. She's been along with me. We've been married for 30 years. And it's just the sound. It's what's going on. I just can't do that. Can't have that sound. Certain sounds trigger. Gotta go open the door. Gotta reality. Gotta face it. Gotta be there. Well, compartmentalizing. I had two people that have told me this. One of them is a major at West Point Army Special Military College. And he told me after a brief discussion, and we talked at the airport, that's how I met him. And he said that when you're involved in things that happen, you notice my hand, I'm doing this with a pencil. You know why? That's probably nervous habit. It's because I'm used to things being in my hand. He said you have to deal with things before you go to sleep. The same rule that applies in your relationship. Don't go to bed mad. Don't go to bed with unsolved. He said the same thing about violence. You have to go to bed unsolved. You have to figure it out. You have to pray. Whatever it takes, talking, listening, crying, hugging. You got to have somebody. And I'm very lucky that I have this wonderful woman over here, Mrs. Beast, who's concentrating.
Yeah.
You'll hear her voice. I'm very lucky that I've talked to her about enough that so long ago she told me I had PTSD. I was just too stubborn to listen. And it finally took 2 years ago when I was 56 years old, writing my third book, that I had to stop writing because it just overwhelmed me. And she's like, "Are you going to listen to me or are you going to keep denying it?" Well, I listened to her. And I apologize for that not being an earlier decision in life. But he told me you deal with that. My second book is called Why People Kill. And I meant to grab it here to show you. I can, let me get it pulled up here on a device here. It's on Amazon. I'll pull it up and show you in a minute. But the second person that told me this, believe it or not, I wrote about it in the second book. He was a MS-13 enforcer who was in the prison that I worked in down in Georgia. And I got to be one of the last people to see him before he had stage 4 cancer. And before he passed away, he shared some stuff with me, and I put that in my book. And unbelievable to listen to him talk about, being 9 years old when he made his first attempt at killing, and he stabbed a guy, down south, another country. And I said, "What happened?" He said, "Well, he didn't die." And I said, "What did you do?" And he said, "I ran. I was 9. I was scared, and he was chasing me." He didn't kill him. He was 12 years old when he made his first kill. He told me, in the people that he killed, over 50 people he killed, he said he never went to bed upset. He always figured it out. And for him, it was to drink and smoke marijuana before he went to bed. And he also did cry. He would go punch something, punch a wall, punch a punching bag, hit something. But he agreed, you don't go to bed without finding some kind of release. Here we go. Now I can do hang on a second here, I can do a screen flip on this. There you go. Why People Kill, Looking Deeper for Answers, right there. It's on Amazon. My writing partner, Timothy Amdahl. I'm Steve Larson, Mr. Tim's the only one that's ever called me Mr. That's kind of funny. But it's right here on Amazon. Or you can get right on Walmart. It's on Walmart, yes. Our books are on Walmart. You know how exciting that is, everybody? Let me find... Nope, can't do a flip a screen on this. I'll go like that right there. Why People Kill, right there. Amazon and Walmart. It's got a sheet in the woods with a man looking over it. That's not Tim or I. That's neither one of us. But it's very exciting to explain this. Well, what do you do when you get to the closet? Okay, now let's get down, let's talk. Here's my book. We're coloring, we're writing, we're getting some ideas here. This is how I'm releasing. No guns, no weapons in my hand. What do you do? What do you do when you feel like something's in there and you can't sleep? And I posted, the next 4 weeks, we're going to talk about insomnia and nightmares here in a couple weeks, so I don't want to get that deep into it. But what happens? You saw the thumbnail for this. Ellie, you've got to come down here. You are all over, knocking over all of my video equipment here. This cat, she's just crazy. What do people do?
What do you mean?
What do they do? Why do people hide stuff? Well, it's kind of like similar a little bit to addiction, but people just don't want to admit they have it. There's a lot of peer pressure that would go along with this, wouldn't you think?
Oh, there is.
You've been with me in working at the prison and police work. If I see something and then all of a sudden, like, hey, I saw this. Like, for instance, we had a bus crash, or a van. You remember the van that crashed in Verona? And it had the 10 college volleyball girls, and it killed 5 or 6 of them. And all of a sudden they're like, well, it's terrible. even though you guys are police officers and you've seen fatal car wrecks, there's several that got killed, and we better have a counselor and have a preacher come and, you know, and then nobody wanted to go, so then they ordered everybody involved on that scene had to go. I wasn't on the scene, so that the ones they went, and they're like, oh, okay, we're okay. And then one of them a few months later is like, oh no, it's bothering me. And then he did it just to have days off. But then the other officers were like, man, you're a wuss, you're a sissy. We see dead people all the time. It's a car wreck, people died. What's your problem? Sorry, the cat here is turning around and flipping my light on and off. Playing with the cord. I'm telling you. Having 4 cats is a handful. And if you do notice, there it goes. If you see on my TikTok, you're gonna see we got some little puppies and kittens both, that we enjoy. So let's get his back over here to this. Would you stop moving my tripod, squirt? But it's this peer pressure. Like, you can't do this. Yes, you can admit to having PTSD. Hey, here's some news. 2 nights ago, I showed my wife on the phone. Here's a picture. 2 female officers from Harris County, Texas, committed suicide within a week. 4 other officers from that department have died since January 1st. So 6 deaths on 1 police department. Everybody in that department's going to have PTSD, has PTSD. I'm going to declare it officially right now. There's no way you're going to work on a department and lose 6 people in 3.5 months and not have some kind of post-traumatic stress from this. But why are the officers going through this? The officer suicide rate is almost double the officer rate of those being killed. Is it stress? Is it being scared? Is it not talking about stuff? Is it not thoroughly understanding laws? When I went to the police academy in '92, we got done. We would continue. The supervisors, they questioned us, the law book. Hey, do this. I'm going to quiz you in a couple days. So I was constantly reading and learning the laws and the traffic laws, which paid off because I didn't get sued. I didn't end up in court, didn't get jammed up, did we?
Nope.
We never went through any kind of that media stuff in circles. Things happened. There was meth labs. I was on a SWAT team. I was a sniper and stuff. I was an instructor. Bad things never happened because I knew what was legally right, what was not right, what I could do, what I can explain in court, and how I could get through it. And I don't know if there's a lack of that formal education. I don't know. I came from the military before I got in, but what's the deal? But here we go back. We got peer pressure. Peer pressure makes people put stuff in a closet. There's pressure. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you punch this person? They did this. Why did you tase them? They pointed a gun at you for 8 seconds. Why didn't you pull the trigger? If you're a police officer and you're in uniform, that's peer pressure, isn't it?
Yep. And
if you do pull the trigger too late, too early, too crooked, too sideways, then there's other pressures.
Yep.
It gets to be really complicated, and it really is a thin line. When you're an officer, it's a thin gray line. You're like right there on that fence. 1 foot's ready to go on either side your whole career. It really is delicate. But the more you learn, the more you get both feet closer to the right side, and the higher probability you're going to fall on the right side, which I did the whole career. Y'all like my picture? This is the relieving of stress. Besides talking, besides podcast and talking, which I talk a lot.
Yes.
This is how you relieve stress. Talk about it. But do you think that I've ever kept things in as far as the job and stress? No, I didn't. Right away, got a question here I'm going to answer in just a second. Brandon, thanks for the question. When I met her, Mrs. Beast here, it was like almost immediately that I just knew. We just clicked. Everything was just instant. Just knew. And it was a connection. We both wanted the exact same things out of life, in marriage and commitment and family and spiritual and church and through God. So that's why I think it was really easy that quick for us to connect and to bond, and it was just there. We just talked.
Mm-hmm.
And some things did, even though we talked about, there's a couple instances that still bothered me after we talked about it. Kind of like the bank robbery involving Jared. I'll talk about that in a minute.
Hmm.
But we just talked. But there's a question: what feeling did I feel when I was triggered?
Anger.
Um, I feel anger and sorrow. Listening to bagpipes. We went to Covington police officer, and this was back right around 94ish.
Yeah, because Cheyenne wasn't born yet.
Yeah, it was right before we got married. 94ish. Covington police officer Mike Parton, was in a foot pursuit on the Brent Spence Bridge over the Ohio River, Covington, Cincinnati. Foot pursuit. He went to jump from the road to the sidewalk part, hit, missed, fell into Ohio River. We searched for 3 months. Water rescue police. This happened in January. So there was cold, there was water, ice stuff in the water. And it wasn't until 3 months that his body was found. Well, there was over 1,000 police, fire, EMS, fire trucks with their ladders way up like this, flags, police. And the police are like, hey, you need to go take your wife, your spouse, your significant other, you know, take them with you, front seat of your cruiser. We want this to be a family. Well, she went. We got dressed up. I put my uniform on, my Class A's. We went to the funeral. It was so big that we had to go to a school and watch it on a big jumbotron. It was only immediate family in the church, and it was what's the word for it? Unbelievable. It was huge. It was
one of the saddest things I've ever seen.
And it was one of the most tragic things that we've seen. Yes, it was very sad. It was very, very sad to see that, and the bagpipes, and to watch that. Now, I've been at a lot of other funerals. Being a veteran, the other guy I was hired with, also named Steve, he was a Marine veteran. I was Air Force. So a lot of times, and they'd have funerals and smaller funerals in the county, we'd get a call and say, hey, this afternoon or tomorrow morning, there's a funeral. We need you two to go and and present a flag. It's a veteran funeral. And we're like, okay, so we'd go do it. I don't know, I think we did about 37 of them before I was all of a sudden like, I can't do this anymore. That's a lot of times to present a flag to crying, screaming families. That was really tough. And, I kind of feel like I've been successful in not shutting the closet door all the way. I've not locked the door full of emotion. But the one thing I indirectly did, and this is why I say that I didn't do it on purpose, indirectly, I kind of went through a whole career, and this is kind of also what that West Point major said in compartmentalizing. When you're on duty as a police, first responder, and there's, something goes on, there's an incident of, serious trauma, child trauma, death of a baby, elderly person that's been beaten and sexually assaulted, something traumatic, you instantly go through a book of like procedures, like you got to do this, do that, rope it off, tape it off. Do you need pictures? Do you need the log? Do you need this? Do you need that? There's a checklist. You call supervisor detectives. You call all these people, and that's what compartmentalizing is. You're doing all this stuff. Thanks again, everybody, for joining. We're talking about PTSD, monsters in the closet. So I didn't intentionally hide anything in a closet and shut the door. Like, I'm not going to deal with that. I carried a dead baby that was suffocated by a Great Dane from a trailer out to my cruiser. No, I didn't hide that in the closet. I talked. I went to the autopsy, watched the autopsy of that baby, and went through everything. Went through the criminal charges. Both parents went to prison. It was an intentional death. It was accidental, but I, with the detective, went through the whole process. But I just never completely dealt with it like I was talking about 10 minutes ago. You got to deal with stuff. You got to do this before you go to bed. And sometimes you can deal with it, and I had one incident that I dealt with, I think, for about 90 days in a row, and it still didn't sit right. And I would have never dealt with it had Mrs. Beast here had the exact right answer. And that was one of the guys, and he happened to be an instructor like me, defensive tactics instructor. He was working plainclothes detail in a bank, and bank got robbed. Dude come up in his hoodie, went like this, pointed, got a gun, took the officer gun, my buddy's gun. Now this is a dude that's been through instructor school, teaching how self-defense, how to disarm people, weapon retention. And he just knelt down, gave his gun up, knelt down, which the FBI statistics say 96% of officers that have their gun taken are killed by it. Well, he's in that 4%. He did not get killed. He's still alive. But the dude robbed a bank, put him at gunpoint to other people. Unbelievable. And it just finally just blew up one day in a really bad way at home. And she said, you have to go talk to this lieutenant. He's not yours and he's not his. He's a different one. Somebody that she also knew, police wife will go out to dinner, working, and lieutenant, sergeant sometimes come meet. They want to meet your wives too and stuff. And she's like, go talk to Tom. So I talked to Tom, a neutral lieutenant. He said, I need to tell the captain this is a problem. The other guy was removed from the training department. Because of this, it really caused division and conflict in department. It caused stress in the whole department, didn't it?
Yes, it really did.
It caused some PTSD. It caused some bullying, some hatred. It caused some shaming, some peer pressure, everything. Things calmed down kind of after that. But thanks to her, she kind of saved the whole department. And that was probably the biggest scandalous thing that happened during the career, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean.
It really turned out that to be. Well, let me. Yeah, if you hear a noise, that's the cat that keeps bumping into the camera equipment. Thanks again, everybody, for joining. Share some thoughts. I'm seeing some people join. No comments yet. Comment. Anybody having some monsters in the closet, some stress, some PTSD, something, and sometimes people will just say, this happened to me. We've had people tell us that they've been a victim of a home invasion. The one guy, his parents were killed right in front of him. He had to use force, ended up shooting and killing a home invader in New York City, a home intruder. And sometimes it's just good to say something happened. And people have said they've been human trafficked, that they've been kidnapped. And it just, hey, people are here. I am not a therapist. We are not therapists. We're not doctors. We're not psychiatrists. We're not giving professional formal advice. We're just sitting here chilling. Just, like Dr. Phil says, it's a safe place. We just color. We do crafts. We paint. She puts stuff together, glues, makes things with wood, a variety of craft things. And we do this together to relieve stress. This is how we're surviving and getting through this. The stress and violence, she has seen some violence. We've been down the road twice that she's seen fatal car wrecks. Like I told my son tonight on the way home from work, you just never know what you're going to see.
No, you don't.
You just don't know. PTSD is real, folks. PTSD is difficult. If you look at the different topics that I've shared that we're going to talk about insomnia. In a couple weeks, we're going to talk about suicide. When things get bad, you think about suicide. We have had very close friends commit suicide, very close friends overdose, that have not talked to people, that have not given warning signs, that didn't say anything was wrong. I got a headache. I just don't feel good. I strained my back the other day. You can't read people's emotions when they say they strained their back. They make that face, that pain, like my back hurts, and then they hide. People are really good at hiding and having faces. When you're in chronic pain, this one over here is the best at making a face. and going out in public and not letting anybody know she's got a nerve disease, and her pain level is worse than 10 people put together. She hides it, but at the same time she's hiding pain. This face over here will make you smile and laugh all day long.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yes, this one right here delivers. She delivers a happy, smiley face.
That happy smiley face.
Just hitting a button here, trying to look at something.
We looking
I just had to change the screen here. A cat had bumped it and knocked it crooked. Hit the like button, folks, here on TikTok. Hit the like. You're joining. Say hello. Hello. Jim's 1216. Crawford 1032. Never joined. Thanks for joining. PTSD. Just talking about PTSD.
Did you answer Brandon?
I did.
Okay.
I typed it and I answered it, yes. Anger and sorrow is the question. How did you feel when I got triggered? I feel different things when I get triggered. Sometimes I feel anxiety. I was at the grocery store today to get a few things. And I'm going through, had spine surgery. They're testing for some other issues. I kind of get anxiety really quick. I don't walk very far. I have to be in one of those motor scooter chairs at the grocery. And anxiety hits in really quick, and then I get lightheaded and dizzy. With that, it's like I want to get angry because it's happening, but I can't get mad. So it's more frustrating than anything, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And then I get lightheaded, and sometimes I'll tell her, hey, I'm feeling like I'm going to be faint. I got to take something for nausea and stuff like that. Yeah, PTSD happens. Things would be good one day. There could be an injury. I kind of start spine thing in 2011 doing strongman with a 700-pound yoke walk. That's kind of what started my spine, but it's just an accumulation of a longer life and things just building up. But you just never know. We watch the news. You watch the news on TikTok and all the bad things that happen. Everybody loves to watch the violence. They like to watch things happen and the police chases and what people are doing and fighting and the MMA fights. We were talking 2 years ago. For some reason, I was thinking, hey nephew, hello auntie. We got Auntie Lacey on here. You know who that is. Hello, thanks for joining. And also a crafting partner here of Mrs. Beast. But I've taught self-defense. I just like to fight. And it's crazy. Why? But you know what? Exercise and fighting, I guess, kind of is an outlet for me to deal with PTSD, to deal with stress. But when you're punching things and you're pushing heavy weight and strongman powerlifting and you're punching people, you can relieve stress. I'm like, honey, you just don't know how good I feel. I came home from work at the prison. Inmate tried to stab me and I beat him up. I feel good. I didn't get hurt. Beat him up. I relieved stress today.
That's because they were bad.
Yeah, they were bad. Yeah, they tried to stab me 3 times. 5 of my friends were stabbed. She actually went to Atlanta Hospital to see Officer McGill, who survived 13 stab wounds on the left side to the face and the neck. He's still alive. He's doing well. He's going to be a podcast guest one night with us here. He's got some good days and bad days. But you just don't know. Well, I was training for that, and then I got RSV really bad 18 months ago, and then that was the end of that. I think that was probably not the best stress reliever. Well, remember a couple weeks ago I was telling you, I said, man, look at this guy. Picture him in the hospital. He took a knee strike. Now, these are professional MMA guys. However, let me tell you something. When you get to be in your 50s and you've been in law enforcement almost 30 years, I've taught self-defense for 27 years. I have knee strikes that are powerful. Like, I'm not a pro, but I'm not an amateur. But this guy's nose was broke, and he had cracks above and below his eye on the x-ray. And I was like, look at this. This is a knee strike to the face. I'm glad I never got one of those. I delivered them in the prison, but Yeah, this MMA fighting, yeah, all looks great. It looks fun, but yeah, that guy's going to be devastated. He's going to laugh and he's going to cry every time he looks at that picture because the rest of his life, he's going to have a migraine. I don't care how good they fix that skull, he's going to have a migraine. Your face just isn't going to heal. Your skull's not going to heal and make you feel like sunshine and daisies. Yep, he can eat a chocolate bar, but you know what? It won't take long before one of his eyeballs is up and down and he's eating chocolate like this. Then he's going to be like, man, I wish I listened to that beast. Should have quit MMA earlier, right? Do you see my look? He's going to eat chocolate like this. Look.
Mm-hmm.
Laughter and smiling is a good way to deal with PTSD. And I did this on purpose. And I'm saying this, and I looked at her and made that face to her on purpose. She has been my rock to get through things in life. She has been my crutch, my ear, my voice, my shoulder to cry on. And I'm telling you, there's things, seen some bad things. She's been my shoulder. She's been my hand to hold the footsteps with me. Other side of Jesus' footsteps on the other side. So you know what? I've had a blessed life to have Jesus and her in my life. That's critical. Somebody make some comments. TikTok here, make some comments. Take Jesus and this beautiful woman over here, Mrs. Beast. That's what's got me through here. And got me blessed with children and grandchildren and a family. And I plan to be way over 100. I plan to live. She plans to live. If you have goals, it helps with PTSD. If you smile, helps with PTSD. If you have family, if you're not afraid to talk, your family's not afraid to listen. It's being afraid to talk is the critical part. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
You always listen, but sometimes I'm just not like to talk about it, am I?
No.
Not right off. I don't take a long time because I've learned over the years I've learned to talk. Look at this. I'm actually putting a little bit more color up here to this. I'm going to start coloring the village tonight, working on this book here afterwards. I remember when Monster Inc. came out many years ago, The Monsters in the Closet. We had this discussion about PTSD back then when it came out. We did. Her and I did. We were ahead of times, I guess, like like a prodigy. And here we are, 30 years, 29 years later, 28 years later, and we're talking about Monsters in the Closet. Folks, open that door. Keep it. You got to shut it a little bit. Sometimes things are hard. Sometimes things are hard. Sometimes the death that people have seen. Some people have caused some death. Some people have caused in self-defense in a war. And yeah, I get it. I get shutting the door. I get shutting it. Don't lock it. Maybe not latch it. Maybe push it closed. Leave a little bit open, because if you leave a little bit open, then that means that you're a little bit willing to try and face a little bit to deal, to listen. Is that right?
Yep.
Leave it open just a little bit. If you shut it and lock it like a trunk and you got the $100 master lock on there and padlock in, I think you might need some professional counseling besides painting with the Beast and Mrs. Beast. If you've went that far and that hard to go out of your way, you're going to need something to help get that open.
Yep.
Opening up. In the beginning, this is episode 12 in this podcast, folks. Thanks for joining, everybody. Don't forget subscribe. YouTube, don't forget subscribe. And that QR code, go to that. That's the Facebook page. Follow. Hit the like and the follows. Get some follows. Share this with people. Don't forget to share. But jump on here every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Episode 1, I explain why I'm doing this. Because I need to not have a weapon around me my whole rest of my life. Do I?
No.
I don't need a weapon in my hand the whole life. I don't need to wear black my whole life. Look, there's black on my shirt. It's got this skull kind of like flag kind of thing. It's hard to change and get out of habits of this. Hard to get away from this. And I'm actually an influencer for a gun company. That's kind of like a medium. I don't shoot all the time, but I'm an influencer, so I'm still kind of involved in it. You got to find a way. Episode 2, I talked about admission. You know, what it took for me to admit that I had PTSD. Episodes 3 and 4, I talked about, go back and look, the one I talked about the signs I missed. I take a piece of paper and I talk about and I say, here's the county line down this road and go like this. And in about eight miles of road, I talk about over 100 bodies that I've seen in law enforcement, from car wrecks to suicides to murders to in train wrecks. In 8 miles, over 100 bodies in that place. You know, that part of town's haunted. That place, every time I drive through there, I think about the dead people. They call it, you know, there I'm looking in the mirror, I'm over here and everything. And I tell my son one day, and he was like, you need to make a video about it and then quit talking about it. And I was like, okay, so I made a video about it and I quit talking about it.
Oh, shoot, it's not
But
haunted.
and it's funny because it goes right past that Triple Crown in Kentucky where, you know, we've got $4 and $5 million homes and they just don't realize they're a mile away from the haunted road.
They're not haunted. Oh my goodness sake.
But it's you know, the signs I missed. And if you listen to me talk for an hour describing about all these things of dead people, and then I'm looking you in the eye and I say I don't have PTSD, you would say you're a liar or you're crazy. But then when you listen and you realize I'm making a video about it, I got a straight face because I'm telling the story. But me talking about it was my dealing with it. Me talking about it was opening the door and getting it out there. And she knows. One of the stories was a head-on collision, a car versus dump truck. We were
Oh my goodness.
we were at the United Dairy Farmers. I was almost at the end of my day shift. It was like 3:30 in the afternoon. Get off at 5. I took a 15-minute break. We met and got an ice cream cone. I'm pretty sure she bought me an ice cream cone because she's loves me and she's nice like that. She bought me an ice cream cone. We got a cone. They put out a car wreck, everything. I said, let me go. I'll call you in a little bit. I might be a little bit late from the sounds of it. And then I'm on the way there, and then they tell me there's an infant involved. And I'm like, oh, crap. I said another word, but I try not to cuss on here. And I get there, and I find 3 people deceased and 6 people injured. And I forgot about the baby. It was so much chaos and blood. It was a horrific scene. A little red Pontiac Sunfire crushed. And the people that were dead were the 2 people in the back seat. And then I didn't even think about the baby because the baby car seat wasn't in the car. The baby car seat was gone. And all of a sudden, then dispatchers like, they called my badge number and they said, we just got a call from the hospital and the infant in your vehicle accident is at the hospital and safe. And I was like, infant in my car? I'm looking around like no car seat. And I'm like, repeat? And they said, yeah, we're sending another officer to get information. You know, find the parents. The infant is okay. And it turns out it was like a 10-month-old baby, I think. Less than a year.
But how'd that baby get to the hospital?
Older couple that a passerby saw this and saw the baby covered in blood and just grabbed the baby, just good Samaritans, and rushed to the hospital. Went up to Florence to St. Luke, Old St. Luke, and took them up there, and they stayed there, and the officer got their names and interviewed them and stuff. But both parents young parents ended up deceased, and another person deceased. And I'm telling you, I could draw a picture of that day. I could draw a picture of that scene of how they were in that car dead. You know, you're not supposed to keep pictures like that, but they're here, and they're not way back and they're not way in the front, but they're just in the middle. I acknowledge that they're there. I have to acknowledge that they're there because that's how I can move on and get through my day and think about something else. That's what I mean by the closet. You can get compartmentalized. When I got there, I got so busy thinking about, I'm coloring here. I'm not ignoring you. I'm throwing working on my red roof here, red metal roof. That's how you don't, you know. I got there and I'm like, oh, cars in the road. I need records. I need this. How many ambulances do I need? Can I get air care? Anybody's deceased? Yep, I need to call. I need a lieutenant to come out, the accident team to come out. I'm just going through my whole checklist and didn't even realize that there was a baby missing because there was no car seat. If I would have seen a car seat, then I would have looked around for a baby. But I didn't see the baby. Look at that. Working on my red roof right here. Everybody that's joined in tonight, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thanks for being here and being a part. I hope you come back next week. You know, when we get talking some more about PTSD. And as we look on here, hardly anybody on here, maybe one or two people have actually used their whole real name. I see a lot of names and a lot of things that aren't people's name. I found a diabetes for many years. A domestic came out 2 months into the academy. It's fueled me that much more to be an advocate. LD, all right. Thank you. Thank you for that comment.
That's awesome.
It is. And good luck. And just remember, you know, you're not alone, and there are people that will listen. There are places like this. I'm not the only person, but I'm every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You know, if you miss it, subscribe, get on the channel, and go back and look and listen. But it does take. My wife, before meeting me, had a relationship that was violent. And it's not, she doesn't keep that secret. She talks about that. She'll say that, and that's why she left him with him for several years. And it's just, you got to do it.
Well, I wasn't with him the whole time when he was doing that. It's when he started. That's when he started. I left.
Yeah, this popped up a few minutes ago. Are you still on there, LD? If you are, answer back, because I'm going to tell you. About a past and a future conversation and episode about our daughter. Okay, you're still there. Okay, great. We have a daughter, and about 6 years ago, 7 years ago, she and baby daddy and infant, he was, how old was he then? About 6, 7 months? Mm-hmm. She was staying with baby daddy's sister, husband, other people, I don't know, 10 people in a trailer scenario. And we got this call. She got the call. I was working at the prison then, down in Georgia. Come get me. Okay, your dad will be off in an hour. She said, okay, come get me. I got to go. So I get off work, go home, pick her up, pick up my wife. We go there. I'm in my prison uniform. Put my Glock 22 in my waistband behind me. We got the directions. We go get there. We go to pick her up. And there'd been a big fight with our daughter and his baby daddy, dude. Now, I teach my kids. They know how to fight. Taught my 2 girls how to fight. My oldest one, she's probably more of a fighter than the other. But anyhow, he had hit her. It was violent. It was physical. Coffee table broke. He picked up a 2x4 and was going to hit the baby. And she unloaded the beast daughter can of whoop ass. And I said, do I need to go find him and maybe dismember him in a field or something like that? I forget what I said. She said, no. His nose is broke, his glasses is broke, his face is broke, probably missing some teeth. She opened up his face. When we took her home, I'm holding the baby. My wife's in the bathroom with her. Our daughter gets in the shower. My wife comes out, tears rolling down her face, and telling me the bruises on her back, how the ribs were sticking out, how hungry she looked, just how pitiful she looked. And to see our daughter to be like this, just unbelievable. But we were there for her.
That gives me PTSD.
That does me too. I still want to go and take some tin snips to somebody's toes or fingers or something. But it was awful. It was awful. But as parents at that moment in time, our job wasn't to seek revenge, which, you know, we believe in karma. Legal system failed us, though, but we believe in karma. But we also believe in taking care of our daughter and our grandchild, and they're both doing much better. And this, 6 years ago.
Oh, yeah, it's totally different.
But it was just horrible to watch and to go through that. Yeah, she still remembers that day. She still wants to get him back a little bit more. So I don't think she's done hitting him. for the way that he treated her during the pregnancy, before and after pregnancy. But it's something, but it has definitely made her stronger. It has made her wiser, sharper, smarter, keener. She notices details a little bit more. She notices, and I talk about this teaching self-defense in your home. Tomorrow, listening, everybody that watches, everybody listening right now, tomorrow, here's your homework, or tonight. Go to your front door, close your eyes. Can you get to the bedroom? Can you get to the bathroom? Can you get to the kitchen? Can you pull out bread? Don't get the knife out and make a sandwich, cut your finger off. Can you move through your house with your eyes shut, with a bandana on your head? Do this several times. Develop your sense of smell and sound. That's how you need to get through a home invasion or bad things. You're getting hit, domestic violence. Domestic violence, people get hit and their blood gets in their eye, they can't see. You need to learn how to hear and to smell. Listen to the other people around you breathing. Listen to the sounds. We have dogs, we have cats. We listen to their feet, their toenails, how they walk. We know who's walking down the hallway. We know how our children sound, how our feet sound. I always talk about this, don't I?
Yep.
And I've done this several times.
Yep.
But this will help you get through this. It's something that makes you stronger. But I want to thank everybody again for joining in. Come back next week. Next week, I believe, we're talking about insomnia and nightmares. Nightmares are a really big thing. Really big. And just a little tidbit of information. Two of our daughters have experienced some bad things, some nightmares. I'm still having some nightmares. Wake up sweating kind of a thing. Something that we have dealt and we deal with, and they're grown-ups. It is a big part of people's life. You're not going to outgrow nightmares. You're not going to outgrow that. Some things just don't go away. You learn what do you do when you wake up and you realize it's a nightmare? You learn that you have the triggers. You learn how to unset the trigger, how to reset the trigger. And maybe it's just something that, I don't want to say that, hey, every time that you have a nightmare, go out and go eat 2 cookies, because I don't want you coming back and asking me if I got Wegovy next year because you ate so many cookies. You can't eat 2 cookies every time you have a nightmare. But there's things that you can do. You get what I'm saying? You find something. I always tell, when you go to bed and she's in pain, she wakes up nausea. This is my wife, Miss Beast, right here I'm pointing to. Don't I always tell you, if you need anything, wake me up.
Yes.
Wake me up. It's important. And that's a part of our bond, to wake me up. Wake me up. You need to wake me up. I need to wake you up if something's wrong. And that's how we can deal with it safely, successfully, whatever it is. Sometimes it's sickness. Sometimes it's nausea. Sometimes it's the pets having a problem or being sick. Sometimes it's a nightmare. It's a bad dream.
Yeah.
Sounds outside. We just don't know. But guess what? I just did this. I said, wake me up. And you know why? Because we're a team. We're a team. 30 years we've been married. Be a team. This is how I survived this. If you go back on the other episodes, she just not on here tonight, just in voice. You see her, the painting for PTSD. Look at that on that playlist. She's also on the playlist. We do a recap of Celebrity Special Forces World's Toughest Test. And we try and explain about how some of these rich and spoiled athletes and celebrities just really don't have a clue without a driver and a nanny and people to do and take care and feed and cook and do everything for them. They can't function on their own. And it's enjoyable. It's one of the shows that we've watched. Season 3's done. We went back. We're going through season 1 now for you. But we do that sporadically. We do some other podcasts sporadically. But just be here. We'd like this to grow. We'd like to have 1,000 people on here. I'd like to have 100,000 people on here, and having comments and people sharing, and everybody helping each other. Getting through stuff together. One of the topics in the future is going to be social media. PTSD from social media. influencers that are committing suicide.
Oh my goodness.
Social media causes problems. I think, and I'm going to end with this. 3 years ago, after, beginning out of corrections, due to corruption is awful in corrections. So I ran for county. I got out of prison, working at the prison. I didn't get out of prison. I left working in prison in Georgia, moved back to Kentucky, and I ran for county jailer. And I almost won the primary because I wanted to fix the corruption, the lack of training, the abuse, the things that were just out of control. I wanted to fix it. And after 7 months of campaigning, 18 months of preparing, 7 months of active campaigning, signs, all that stuff, social media, all over social media, wasn't I?
Yeah.
Then I got a job working for a governor who turned out to be not a governor, but a goobananny. I'm going to make up a word. He was a whole lot of things all put together.
Oh goodness.
And I was so involved with social media. And one of my roles, I was head of security and bodyguard, but he really used me because my resume says veteran, police, and corrections. So he was trying to use me to get the vote of those people for him for governor. Well, I I left 4 months before the actual primary election. Just couldn't take any more. Couldn't take any more of this. And he lied and took advantage of me too, all the staff. But it took me 8 hours to delete and get out of the groups and get out of the stuff I was involved in to work for a governor candidate. That's how much social media that was within. And then it was just chill. And, make some videos, a little bit of nature, some self-defense stuff, and then just kind of felt a calling from God to do this PTSD once a week and to try and help people. And that's where we're at. It's where we are.
Yeah.
So, everybody, some insomnia, some nightmares, some media, some talking about when PTSD leads to suicidal thoughts and attempts. That's coming up 3 weeks from today. I may have a special guest I'm trying to line up for that episode that night. Go back, check out my playlists. Don't forget subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow on Facebook, Painting for PTSD, and share. And we're almost completed. We have an apparel store that's going to be lined up where you'll be able to buy a t-shirt, long sleeve, hoodie, or a ball cap. I'll have it on. I'll show you as soon as it gets done. It's a company that's doing that. And then I can wear my shirt, then tell the world, hey, I have a podcast. I am trying to help people that have PTSD. That's coming soon. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night. See you next week.